Hello, everybody. I just want to give my first impressions as well as some tips for you going into Season 4 because I know this is going to be probably the second day by the time you see this. But for those of you that have not started, maybe you only played a little bit, hopefully I can save you from making some of the mistakes that I made. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So first off, build power is way up. Companion Druid is way stronger than it was before. On top of that, it seems like Nightmare Dungeons are a little bit easier. So it's very easy to push the envelope on trying to hop world tiers and stuff like that. So definitely don't sleep on trying to do stuff. So like right here, you can see I'm level 42. I'm smoking this level 50 Cathedral of Light. Once I get into the tips, I'll talk a little bit more about why that is and how I was able to do that. Even though I'm running, companions, which is I think Maxroll currently has Companion Druid now rated as like a C tier build, so it's not one of the strongest builds in the game by the community standpoint. So, yeah, that being said, so kind of getting into some of the changes, they actually didn't end up nerfing Elemental Surge by 93%. It's no longer just doing 1,000 damage, like I saw some people saying. I don't know exactly what the highest end is going to be because it seems to change. I'm not sure if it changes based on if it's Ancestral Sacred or what, but currently with an 850 item power item, mine's doing about 8,000, so that means once you upgrade it with Masterworking, it's going to go all the way up to about like 10 to 12,000. So it's still a pretty hefty nerf, but it's definitely, in my opinion, I think the 10,000 once it goes through multipliers and increasing of damage dealing and stuff like that is actually pretty relevant, at least for companions. So I'm going to try it out. I have been using it, and honestly, so far it's actually seemed pretty good. We'll see if the damage ends up falling off, though, the higher up I go. I'm currently level 62, or no, 67, I think, as the making of this video, and I am in World Tier 4 already. And I actually did, God, what level did I do the capstone at? I think I did the World Tier 4 capstone at level 55. So yeah, pretty wild. So first impressions, season's really good so far. Really enjoying it. I haven't been able to do the pit yet, but if just with the changes they've made to temperings and stuff like that, like it's so fun. Like the tempering thing is just amazing. Like it's so great. It adds so much flexibility. It allows you to add early power to your builds. It's just, oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah. So another change they also made that you guys might be a little excited about, at least I know I am, is that Aspect of the Alpha actually is tagging werewolves as a werewolf skill now. Storm's Companion, unfortunately, is not. I actually got really lucky and got Storm's Companion as my first dropped unique. That didn't come from the seasonal board, so that was pretty sweet. That I got that, but it does not make it a Storm skill still. However, Aspect of the Alpha is tagging it as a werewolf skill, so that actually opens up not necessarily damage. I'm gonna have to do more testing. It's not like it's gonna make him do crazy damage, I don't think, but it does add utility, right? Because if they're now a werewolf skill, you can now actually use, werewolf skills, restore, spirit on attacks. So that's actually pretty interesting, for example, for like a werewolf pack leader build, because now if you take that, it's a way for you to regenerate spirit when you have 3 werewolves hitting things, critting with high attack speed and stuff like that. So it's interesting. I'm not saying it's going to elevate them to be crazy. I mean, realistically, the thing that would elevate them to be crazy is if Storm's Companion made them a Storm skill, because then they'd have access to Thunderstruck, etc. But it is a nice change, and it is definitely a buff. So companions are going to end up being a little bit stronger than was initially anticipated. Because when I was on the PTR, that actually wasn't the case. I know I had Aspect of the Alpha, and it definitely did not show up as a tagged ability still from the little that I was able to play in the PTR. So that was something that they changed in the patch notes. If you read the patch notes, they said that they updated a lot of aspects to try to interwork and make builds do this kind of stuff. So I'm hoping it's not a bug. I'm gonna have to test it still, but as I know, back at season 1, if you didn't know, it actually did tagged it as like a werewolf nature magic storm skill when you had both those on, but that was actually a bug apparently, and they ended up fixing that to where it didn't tag them like that anymore. They weren't actually benefiting. So hopefully it's not a bug again. We'll see. I mean, the companions are just crazy strong early on. Like it's ridiculous like how strong they are. All right, so I mean, that's really it for the first impressions. I'm only level 67, so not much to say, but so far, just amazing. Tempering's amazing. Super early build power. So now I'm going to hop on into the tips, because this will really help you guys clear out the higher world tier capstones, I think, faster if you do these things. So first off, when it comes to leveling, Since Hell Tides are now accessible in World Tier 2, which is amazing, by the way, and Hell Tides are way better. If I didn't mention that, I think I actually forgot to mention that. Hell Tides are amazing. You want to stay in the Hell Tides and preferably find the Blood Maidens. I don't know what level those unlock because it seemed like they weren't popping up on my map. But at the same time, I think you might have to go and find them and they might just not show up on the map. And I didn't know it was a thing maybe for a while. But if you sit next to those Blood Maidens and just wait for a train to come by, it's wild how much experience and cinders you get. And then what you want to do is once you get a bunch of cinders, just go open up the chest because those chests give you a bunch of experience and you'll level up really fast that way. Like really fast. Like even for a druid, like I feel like I was leveling very, very quickly. Like I was I know I was the highest level on my friends list and I was playing a druid. Now granted, they're not like obviously like in a 4-player party min-maxing, but neither am I. But considering I was playing druid, I was like, wow, that's actually kind of crazy. So that'd be my recommendation on how to level. And it's also a lot more fun because if you don't know how Hell Tides work, there's like a threat meter. And as you build up the threat meter, all of a sudden you start getting ambushed. They pretty much turned them into Blood Harvest from Season 2 if you played Season 2. But more of like a demon demonic-y theme, which is super sweet. All right, hold on. Just look at this. Look at this. Oh, man, I didn't kill him. I wasn't able to kill this guy before. I wasn't able to kill that guy beforehand. But yeah, I ended up just kind of letting the companions do it because I wanted to test to see how much damage I was doing. I easily could have cleared that like at least a few levels beforehand. And the other reason why you want to stick to the Hell Tides is you get a lot of legendaries. So a big part of the reason why I was able to do this was because I had Aspect of the Alpha, right? And I found that by doing Hell Tides. I found a lot of legendaries by doing Hell Tides. Not only do you find legendaries to do the Blood Maiden and stuff like that, but you also, and whenever you open up the chest, it gives you rep for the seasonal board, and that seasonal board also gives you legendaries. And not only does it give you a legendary, but it will give you a sacred weapon, or well, it has at least the chance to give you a sacred weapon. And I was able to get a sacred weapon drop that I was able to use at level 38 because they reduced the requirement. They reduced the requirement, or like the level requirement to use sacred and ancestral weapons. So like right here, I'm going. Right here, I actually still have an I still have a sacred weapon. But that just kind of goes to the build power. But in the previous clip, when I was doing the first capstone, I just had a sacred weapon. It made things way easier. I also had Aspect of the Alpha. Now, you might not necessarily find Aspect of the Alpha, but it's not just the wolves doing the damage. Like Poison Creepers doing damage, Ravens are doing damage, and I have 0 legendaries that really affect them. So, just make sure you do that. And then once you get some legendaries, just go on and don't be afraid to try to do this early because I don't really think it matters what build you're playing. As long as you have at least like maybe 1 or 2 of the legendaries that you need, and one of those being like a main one. Like for example, I'd like Aspect of the Alpha, or actually if I just had Aspect of the Stampede, I think I'd probably have a similar result just because Ravens and Poison Creeper would be buffed. But yeah, as long as you have like 1 or 2 legendaries, you'll be good. You will also end up getting a unique from the seasonal board in World Tier 2, by the way. So that's also pretty cool. Unfortunately, I got Hunter Zenith and Insatiable Fury, so I didn't really use them. So that kind of sucks. But yeah, so just make sure you do the Hell Tide so you can unlock the seasonal board, and you'll just get a ton of legendaries. And guys, I did not open up any seasonal chest. I am saving mine for the Necromancer because you get the minion stuff out of the Necromancer. You're going to get Werebear stuff from the Druid. So I didn't open it up because I'm not interested in playing Werebear, and I threw that in my stash as I was getting them and doing the seasonal journey, and that's going to be purely for my Necro when I go to make that. So I just did all of this purely blind, no help from the seasonal pass track at all. Okay, so the next tip here too is I also was using temperings. I was finding that it was very, very easy to get mats. It's not like what it used to be where it's hard. You'll find veiled crystals all the time, especially since you'll end up finding a bunch of legendaries you're not even going to use. And also, when it comes to legendaries, don't be afraid to salvage them because the Codex of Power is now different. It gets added into the Codex of Power no matter what legendary it is, and you can use it forever. So once you find a max roll legendary, that's it. One and done. Right? You don't ever have to find it again, and you can break down any further ones that you find. So don't be afraid to break stuff down, break down legendaries. It'll just go straight to your Codex, and you can use it. But yeah, so when it comes to the mats and stuff like that, though, it's very easy to get them because you will be fighting legendaries. You will be breaking them down. So don't be afraid to like temper your gear. You're going to end up finding these manuals. Now you're going to find they're typically going to be blue on World Tier 2. You might find a couple of rare ones, but it's definitely not the most common thing to find. Like I did find a couple of rare ones, I think, just because I played like so much on it. But yeah, so you'll find the blue versions of your manuals, and then once you get into World Tier 3, I think it's just a guaranteed yellow drop. I don't think I had a single blue one drop. And then once you get into World Tier 4, all of them are going to be legendary, the legendary version of the manuals. So yeah, so keep that in mind as you're going to tempering. But don't be afraid to temper the gear. It's definitely going to help you out a lot if you temper it. Like I put like plus 160% companion damage on my weapon. Early on, that's actually a very big damage difference. Later on, when you have more additive damage, not so much. But early on, that's crazy, right? Okay, so the next thing is when it comes to defensive aspects, when you try to make the hop to World Tier 4 specifically, you really want to make sure you have Juggernauts or Disobedience on to hit the armor cap. The armor cap was reduced. It's 9,300 now. So make sure you have one of those on, and you should be able to do it fine. The resistances also matter a little bit, but not really too much. If you find a piece of gear that has like max life, your main stat, and a resist on it is a defensive piece, generally that's going to be pretty good early on whenever you're going to be low on resistances when you're trying to make that hop into the next tier. So yeah, don't be afraid to wear pieces like that, even if it's not necessarily like what you need damage-wise. You should have plenty of damage. There's just so much more damage this season, just in general. Okay, yeah, so if you finish the seasonal quest line, you will get a free Disobedience, so keep that in mind. It's not a very long quest line. It's pretty easy. I wouldn't recommend re-rolling stats, though. It's still kind of costly, so I did it a little bit, but honestly, I don't think it was worth it. I wouldn't recommend doing it unless you have like a super excess of gold. So make sure that once you get an excess of stuff, don't just keep salvaging it. Make sure you also like start selling it so you can have gold so you can reroll stuff in the future. So keep an eye on like how much materials you have, and once you have a super big excess, just start selling this stuff. But keep in mind, if you sell a legendary, it will not go into your Codex of Power. And also keep in mind that if you overwrite a legendary, it does not go into your Codex of Power. So yeah, that kind of sucks. I wish it did, but yeah, so I had a couple of aspects that were not what I needed, but ones I wanted just in case that I had to overwrite, unfortunately. But oh well, it's okay. Yeah, and then keep in mind the all items button does in fact salvage everything now, including legendaries. I accidentally salvaged a whole entire inventory because in the previous season that was not the case. Unless legendaries were marked as junk, they would not get salvaged by the all items feature. It now is doing it. It could be a bug, I don't know. But watch out for that. Let's see here. Okay. I think, okay, so the last thing to know is if you're wondering about the pit because you haven't seen it, you're not going to be able to do that till World Tier 4 and you have completed a Tier 46 dungeon. A side quest will come up when you hit World Tier 4. So if you're wondering about how to unlock that, that's how you do that. And then it'll just be a matter of following the quest line, and it'll show you, like how to get the materials and stuff like that for that. But yeah. I think that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you next time. And I guess I'll just let you guys finish watching this clear if you'd like. I'm pretty sure I just absolutely obliterate the boss here. Hold on, let's see. I want to watch this. I think I do. I think it was even more intense than the last time. It's just crazy how, like, the build power. Like, this is a C-tier build. Could you imagine where NATO's doing right now? Well, I guess you have to find Temp Destroyer, so probably nothing for most druids yet, but... Yeah, like, Jesus, like, what? What? You don't even have to do a mechanic. That's insane. That's insane. All right, guys, thanks for watching.